So, Doctor, my name is Daniel Mugoya. Once again, I work with UBC, the national broadcaster. I'm so happy to have met you today for the first time in my career as a journalist. But I used to be your follower while you were still the Vice President of Uganda. And even now that you're still resourceful in the economy. So maybe before I just tackle the questions, I would love to know, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm busy. I'm busy in the Ministry of Health here, which means I don't sit here. My work is in the field.
Yeah.
I work with you in the media to mobilize the population. I farm. My farm is my gym. My gym pays me. I rear chicken. Now I've started rearing goats for one reason or another. That's another subject. And I also grow oranges.
Okay.
Just for me and my friends, because I think vitamin C is very important when you grow old.
Okay.
Because regeneration is more difficult as you grow old.
At your farm, when did you think about joining that area of agriculture? Was it while you're still in the...
When I was young, I hated digging. It was a real battle when we went to the garden. But I ended up liking nice, small, clean gardens, but not farming. And because I grew up with the public servants or civil servants, my father was in the postal service of the East African community. My mother was a nurse, but they were doing value addition. My father was rearing chicken, so would grow maize and make feeds for the chicken. From maize, sorghum, millet, all that. And my mother would brew marwa, mwenge you know. But my father also was very interested in horticulture. We used to grow cabbages, cauliflower, all those herbs, and he would go and sell to Indians. So I grew up seeing what agriculture was, but getting involved in farming was really a friend of mine who knew when I joined politics that I would be in big trouble, because I was engaged in trading. By the time I joined NRM government, I had already left public service. I resigned from the public service when I was 32.
Oh.
But I continued teaching at Makerere and also working as a surgeon without being paid by government. So I was looking after myself. I started my clinic. But agriculture, really, when I joined the government in '89, a friend of mine, really a sister of mine, Petronella Nakanda Lujwala, a retired headmistress, is the one who introduced me into commercial farming by bringing me 101 broilers to my home in Bugolobi in the boys' quarters.
That was 89.
89. And my niece, who is Kate Mwale, is now a human resource officer, Ministry of Agriculture. She's the one who knew how to rear chicken in a big way. So I went home after office as a deputy minister, and I find my niece, Petronella's daughter, had actually brought me the chicken and a bag of feeds for me to go into rearing, because she knew that if I focused on government work, I would be a very poor woman. So that's how I entered, through networks and that kind of thing. Otherwise, getting into agriculture was never my day. But now I'm there. I'm fine.
So, Doctor, I know today the topic is not about agriculture, but there's something I don't want to just go unnoticed. While you were still growing up, like me personally, because you said you joined this in 1989, I was a bit a young person. But when I was growing up, Uganda, we used to study about Uganda being, agriculture being the backbone of Uganda. Today, as I'm speaking to you, is this still a reality?
It is really. Because when you look at the structure of the economy, we look at the numbers, the GNP or GDP, and we say agriculture takes up over 60% of what our riches are and as our source of income. So even the service sector, when you look at it and say service sector, yes, the service sector is also servicing agriculture, marketing. Now IT has also taken up a very big role in agriculture, because I just sit in Dundu there and I market my eggs. The people who want them, I don't need now to have a shop. I only need a store where I keep my eggs. And the border people who are part of the service sector, they are the ones who are getting me the eggs. They are the ones who deliver my inputs from the village, the farmers' village near Owino there in Nakivubo. So the sector has grown. And to me, who is in that sector, I think it is a very big source of jobs if it is structured properly.
So the involvement of the IT sector and the service sector, was it like adding credit to the value chain?
Yes, very much so. Because if I'm in Dundu, where I live, where my farm is, and I have to drive to Kampala to go to Nakivubo to buy vaccines and bring them, that is a whole day gone because of the traffic.
Okay.
Yet I could have remained on my farm. I just call. In fact, I just send a WhatsApp message to Dr. Karega in a farmer's village. I give my order on WhatsApp. He receives the order. He sends me the receipt on the invoice on WhatsApp. And then after that, I go into my bank. I pay him, send him my bank receipt. And then he calls me and says, vehicle number so and so, a taxi is bringing. So they connect up with my stores manager. So I've really found it very useful. And it costs me, that a transaction costs me less than 1 hour. Adding the delivery is within 2 hours, my things have arrived.
That is great. So, Doctor, in your preamble, you talked about population. And we have like 16 million Ugandans in the youth who are not employed but have they graduated from university and so on, but they are looking for jobs. Why when you say agriculture is still something we can embrace, what advice would you give to this?
You know, sometimes, when I went to Harvard, I did demography. And now I'm a social scientist, a planner. Now, there is the population, which is termed youth. When you go to the census data and move, who is a youth? Somebody who is equal to or above 18, but equal to and less than 18. They don't make 16% of the population. What percent did you say? 16 million?
16 million.
No, they don't. So, and then when you actually look at those who have been to the university, you go again in the census and say those who started primary, you move cohort by cohort. Or those who were born in this year, how many finished primary school? Of those who started primary, how many actually entered secondary school? Of those who finished senior 4, how many went to HSC? You will see that less than 10% of the children of Uganda who start primary 1 go to high school. This one, you go, I analyze data. I work a lot with WUBOS. So you to really tell Ugandans that the people who are going to the university are a very small fraction of the population of young people that started primary school. When again you go to the census data, the youth between the age of 18 and 30, the majority are engaged in agriculture. They are engaged, for sure. I do, because you look at the household survey, it is the one which will tell you what they do. They may be graduates, but they are also in agriculture.
Commercial?
Yes. It's the degree of commercialization that we have to now address.
Now I get you.
Yes. Otherwise, the jobs are there in agriculture. They are there through the cooperatives. We need young people to help us manage the cooperatives, to manage the value addition chains, and then with the old people who own the land, we go and do production. Then the value addition goes into the hands of young people. I see this structure very well even in my own business on the farm. It is young people who are doing the management, the manager plantation, the manager processing, the manager marketing, the manager stores. You see what I mean? And then you really see that this is where it is. Then those who didn't do education to go to secondary and whatever, they are involved in the gardens, very busy digging. They are the ones who do the holes, they are the ones who plant, they do a lot of work.
So should we say there's just a negative mindset vision that agriculture could be sinking?
It is not sinking at all. Otherwise, how come Uganda is one of the food secure countries in the world? The most food secure countries in the world. You may say that in Karamoja they are starving, but that's a matter of this food distribution, not food availability. Yes.
Okay,
otherwise, all the cows in Karamoja are also a source of food, both as cash for food, but directly as food for eating.
Okay.
Yes.
It's a complex topic, and I think we shall have another time.
As a former Minister of Agriculture,
yes,
and one who chaired the committee of the African Union, who did the plan for agriculture development in Africa, which was the basis for the agriculture policies in Africa, I think I have a fairly good understanding. Now, as a practitioner, I also, I think, have a fairly deeper understanding of what's going on.
That's good time. So
yes.
we shall have that for another day. Thanks for that preamble. But now,
Ugandans don't give up on agriculture, because COVID also showed you this. The most important things that keep you alive are food, shelter, and water. And in COVID, people were not working, but they had to eat.
yes.
And where does the food come from? From us, the farmers. Yes.
Okay. That is good advice.
Yes.
So, Doctor, you joined politics and you were a member of parliament for close to 17 years. But someone, especially when we're talking about the young population, there are those who don't know about this. And from the horse's mouth, maybe you would share with us how your journey to the parliamentary job was.
You see, my journey to parliament was not accidental, because I have always been in leadership, even in school and at university. So at university, if I can start from there, I won't take you to being a monitor or a school counselor or a school minister of this or that. But at campus, I was the de facto guild president, because I was chairperson of the chairpersons of all the students in their halls of residence. And that time, the Idi Amin had banned the guild. So that's how I started getting into known nationally.
And that was Makerere University.
Makerere University, because my base was Mary Stuart Hall, as chairperson of Mary Stuart Hall.
Okay.
Yes. So getting into politics was through the Democratic Party, which in 1980, after I had finished my internship, the Democratic Party got us students who were leaders and put us through seminars to train us on leadership. They picked those who were leaders or had been leaders. And that work was being done by my friend and mentor, Henry Sewanyana of the Democratic Party. So when the elections were announced, because 79 was when Amin was overthrown, yes, and there was a coalition government, we were just waiting to get into the multi-party democracy when the coalition arrangement decided in the parliament that we are going to go that. So I joined the Democratic Party and I was elected mobilizer on the women's wing, and I was also a member of the finance committee of the Democratic Party, and I was involved in fundraising money in Kenya, Tanzania. So as a young woman who graduated in 79, I went on a plane for the first time in 1980 to go and look for money, do fundraising to mobilize for my party. So that's how I joined politics.
Okay.
Yes.
And you managed to maintain this space for the 17 years?
I maintained, no, I didn't maintain. What maintaining? Because after 79, I came back on the national scene in 89. 87 maybe, yes, because when NRM came in 86, I was elected on my village as a secretary for women in absentia. They put my name on a piece of stick. I was in Mulago. Like I told you, I had 87. They elected me in LC1. Then I was elected again, LC2, Nakawa Division, Bugorovi Parish. Then I was elected mobilizer, Nakawa Division, in Kampala district here. So I became a district councillor. I started from the village, became a district councillor. So that's the difference now. People start at the top, no leadership at village level, and yet NRM came and said, we started off, if people did not know you and had no confidence in you, they wouldn't elect you to higher positions. So through the Electoral College, I joined NRC as a woman representative for Kampala district.
So you passed through the right structures?
Yes.
That was great. So during this time, I know, like any leader, there was Uganda you were visiting. What was in your mind, and what kind of Uganda did you want to see?
A peaceful Uganda, because without peace, nothing can happen. That's what we were all fighting for at that time. Peace was paramount. Peace, peace, peace. And that theme of peace, I have continued with it in my political life right up to the international level. Peace. How do you make peace? How do you get peace? The other issue which has been on my mind because I'm a woman, is gender issues and equity. Issues of vulnerability. How do you get everybody to come on board? Not equally, but equitably. Because everybody cannot be equal to everybody else. People always say, women's rights, we want equal rights. No, equal opportunities. So peace and equity. And then if government is doing what it does, policies which address peace, policies which address equity, will ensure that the humans are developed to their potential, full potential, each one to their full potential, to be able to participate in the development of the country. Okay. Those are the two key things: peace and equity. Vulnerability. Yes. Okay. To a certain extent, yes. Okay. With the peace, we achieved peace. the NRM brought us peace. And you know, Ugandans, sometimes I read you young people laugh at us when we say you can sleep. I want to tell you, peace, apart from food, sleep apart from food and water, is the other very important element, because even if you are naked, you will be able to do your work. Yes, in Africa, even if you sleep on the outside, you will be able to survive. But if you don't sleep, you cannot think, you can't do anything. Yes, peace, we have peace.
Thank you.
Some people may dispute that, but peace is there, because peace is not being in conflict with your neighbors as a country. So at the Uganda level, I can see we have peace. We are at peace with Kenya. We are at peace with Sudan, South Sudan. We are at peace with Tanzania. And that peace has been built into what we are calling the East African Federation, if it comes. So I can see that we are far, we've moved a long way on that element of peace.
Thank you. And the likes of Professor Kanyahamba, Honorable Magenjina, I don't know whether I used to call it.
I know her very well, yes.
You were among the people who participated in the making of the Constitution, the 1995 Constitution. And currently, from 1995 and now, when you look at how the Constitution is being handled, and you are among the very reasonable people who are around to make this Constitution, what comes into your mind?
You know, what is a constitution? A contract between the people and the leaders whom they elect, and the judiciary, those three arms. It's a social contract which binds the people, the leaders now, these are executive and parliament, and the judiciary, which does the arbitration, which does the kugombolola. That is what the Constitution is. And from my knowledge of the Constitution, luckily enough, I just finished my diploma in law, and I went back to the fundamentals of constitutional law, which I studied last year. I can see that a lot has been achieved. Why? That social contract is achieved through making laws that are in consonance with the aspirations, the objectives that are laid down to ensure their rights, their human rights are achieved, to ensure their development is facilitated, really to make sure that every Ugandan is living at peace with every other Ugandan. And I can see lots of the laws have been put in place through the institutions that have been put in place. So you'll have issues to do with human rights. We have the Human Rights Commission. My problem with that one is that even when we were writing the Constitution, those of us who were activists and had gone through a lot of conflict and abuse of human rights during the Amin era, we wanted the Human Rights Commission to take center stage in being the last resort for people to go and actually say, I have a problem. But it was put by experts at a pedestal which does not give it the power to actually be able to say, your rights have been abused, this and this should happen, because it's a subordinate court. It sits as a tribunal. When you sit as a tribunal, it means your decisions are subject to the High Court, are subject to another court. It is a tribunal. So at the end of the day, that court has not really matured. It's one of the areas which I think we should look at very seriously. The other area is the enforcement of the laws.
Yes.
Enforcement of the laws. That is based on the principle of everybody is subjected to the law except the president of Uganda until after he's president. When he's no longer president, if he commits any crime while president, which is not related to his presidency or the powers given to him, and there is no power given to the president to commit crime, no, then Ugandans will take him to court. Otherwise, all other Ugandans are subject to the law. Whether you are a sweeper, if you commit a crime, yeah, and a minister commits the same crime, you are treated equally under the law. That one, we have not got there yet. Because even when I was in doing my internship in Mukono, you see somebody who stole a goat is actually in the prison. But a big person who has stolen big things is not treated the same way as that person. So that is where we should go, so that everybody is subject to the law. When that happens, Ugandans will be very happy. Then equity. Everybody is being treated equitably according to the crime they have committed or the misdemeanor they have committed, and at the end of it, they will see equality as human beings. Otherwise, if some are treated different from others, then Ugandans complain. All these other things people talk about, oh, government is this, is this. They look at how equitable, how the resources that belong to them, that are from the treasury, loans that are taken, are actually being applied. Are they being applied equitably?
Doctor, are you not trying to take me to a case of impunity?
Certainly. There's a lot of impunity in government. There's a lot of impunity in government institutions. A lot of it. And condoned by the public, I must say. Yes, the public condones it. Because when somebody says in Abasoga Bakoba, "Emberi yekuba mwino," then they say, oh, the Basoga don't treat their fellow Basoga like the Baganda do, like the Westerners do, that they will give you a job. When you steal, oh, whom do you know in police, so that they don't charge you. This is really condoning. And yet we are trying to say, I didn't choose to be born in Msoga. You didn't choose to be born in Tororo district. Yes. No. But we are here as Ugandans. In the Constitution, the tribe is immaterial. It is immaterial. What is material about your tribe is your culture, which promotes the well-being of all Ugandans. In fact, if your culture is contrary to what the Constitution says, that culture is null and void. This is very clear in the Constitution. Yes, the laws are made. You can see the exact, like I say, the laws are there. If you look at the Land Act, very, very clear. Very clear, but how do people interpret it, or how is it enforced? You find that people with money seem to be the ones who are above the law. So they go around, they cause people to actually be treated as criminals because they are found sitting on land. And yet that should be a civil issue. It should go to mediation, even if I'm sitting on your land. But they will go and tell the police there is a criminal sitting on my land, they have cut my tree, they have done this. Yet
secure court order.
Secure court order, secure this. It's really, there's a lot of confusion. But I also say it's also because we have not done enough education, enough mobilization.
When you say we, who are?
We the leaders.
Okay.
We the educated people.
Yes. Sometimes
Even the educated people will twist knowledge to their advantage. Yesterday, I was in my village because we put KCC to court. I will not discuss the KCC garbage issue. I see the mayor recently saying, oh, we are taking garbage to Dundu. But, you know, it is in court now. So I go to see the state of that land where people have developed beautiful homes because we want to turn Dundu into a residential tourist resort for people of Kampala to go and rest there. We have got people to plant trees, to do beautiful compounds. Then I find my own ministry is building an incinerator on that land. The incinerator
affecting the physical planning.
Yes, that place is not for garbage at all. That's why we are disputing it. It's a farming residential area. Yes. But physical planning is a function of government. Is that place gazetted for that? Because when you have a hospital facility, that's where you should put the incinerator so that you get those things and directly take them to the incinerator. But now you get all the bio waste from Mulago, from Naguru, from wherever, all the way to Dundu, incinerate it. Bio waste, what does it have? That is also now the people there I said, why didn't you report and tell us? Oh, even the chairman, LC3, knows. What does he know about bio waste? So we are not using our knowledge effectively. Does NEMA know that there is a bio-waste facility being put in that place? It has not heard of it. So you can see a lot is going on. There is another bio-waste somewhere on the way to Mukono from Karaji. Does NEMA know there is that bio-waste? That one is even likely to be dealing with issues of nuclear. Because in the health sector, we use nuclear medicine. So, you know, the problem is with us, the Ugandans. A lot of knowledge, we don't give it to the people. A lot of knowledge about the law, we don't educate the people. Otherwise, the Constitution itself is a very beautiful document.
Thank you very much. Reputation of the other.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, you know what is quite interesting. It's very, very good to go back to school. Because when you read about the history of the independence of the judiciary, the independence of the parliament, the independence, they are talking about independence from the executive. This is what they are talking about. We are using a British style of government and institutions, and our laws are premised on the British laws. Now, Britain itself didn't have independence of parliament and executive until a few years ago. No, they didn't. Now, the English language also says, whoever pays the piper calls the tune.
Yes.
Who pays the judiciary? Who actually collects the money? That's why we keep saying, you know, every home must have a leader. In our patrilineal society, the man is the one who used to go out to get money. So he has the last word. Independence. What do you understand by independence? You speciosa Wandera Kazibwe. It is independence of your constitutional role as you do your work. If you are parliament and you don't step into implementation and focus on monitoring, focus on monitoring what your government expenditure by making sure that the aspirations of the people who elect you are on board, then you'll have your independence. If you are not doing corrupt actions, if you are not misusing your office, gallivanting all over the world, because your role is to make law, but you do more of moving to do work which is not related to what the Constitution gave you, then somebody will have to come in. Who will come in? The Auditor General comes in. When the Auditor General comes in and says you are doing the wrong thing, then the executive is the one in charge of enforcing. So the executive will come in to enforce. If you are actually misusing your independence in accordance with the Parliamentary Act. If as a judiciary, you also do the same things, if you are corrupt, if you are misapplying justice, then who will correct that? The executive will come in to make sure that if you are a corrupt judge, they will actually get the police to charge you within the judiciary. So it's not saying that I'm sitting there independence. Now the other thing I have learned is that when you interpret this independence of the three institutions, you have to know the ideological dispensation of the system you are working under. Is it communist? Is it socialist? Is it capitalist? Because Uganda is a socialist dispensation way of managing things. Because we have capitalist elements and the communist elements. Because our people, our culture is basically communal, is basically communist. We are subjected to the whim of the community. What do they think? What do they want? This capitalist thing comes in business because of I have done my thing, I must move on. I have made my profit, whether I step on your shoes or not, that's okay. So, in looking at that element, you must say, I work in a socialist country. If I make judgment on this, how is it going to affect Parliament? Will Parliament go back to overturn my judgment? Because Parliament can actually make laws to get rid of what the judiciary, the judge has said. Because it's in their power to make the law.
Yes.
It is in their power. The judges also make law in their judgment in one way or another, but it must be in line with the spirit of how Parliament made that law. So people have to understand this. You get people who go to that Parliament and they actually don't understand. They've never read the Constitution. They've not even read the Parliamentary Act. They've not read, like you are on a health committee, but you've not even read the Public Health Act. So we still have a long way to go in making sure the Constitution, which we started with, is on board. And that is, sensitization. You know, when NRM came, it was called these people, they take us from Chaka, they are indoctrinating us, they are doing all kinds of things. But that is the period before we went multi-party, when we could really speak with the same language. Because all of us went and decided this is the direction we want to take. Whether you are DP, UPC, or UPM, through those workshops and mchaka. Right now, it is everybody for themselves. Every party is talking about whatever it is that will advance their cause, the party. Individuals, what is in it for me as an individual? So Uganda has ceased to be the priority for many of our leaders, many of our technocrats, many of leaders of every kind And I'm saying every kind. I'm not going to really itemize them. Yes.
So, between politicians and leaders?
Certainly. I'm a leader. I didn't have to be, you see, politics is when you are elected. A political leader is elected to look out for what the people are saying. You don't have to be a technocrat. But when you are a technocrat, you need to know that politics matters in every field. So you should educate yourself on how to work with the political leaders to make a difference for the people, because you have the technical knowledge.
Okay.
So you are a leader in that case. A leader, as a researcher, you are a leader. What kind of research do you choose to do? Is it going to affect the lives of Ugandans? So even Makerere, professors, researchers, they are also leaders in that you take a lead in your field to do something which is good for the people. You don't need to be elected there, because elections are at the people refuse to elect people who are useful, and they elect comedians.
Why would we have a system which is not coordinated? For example, you just talked about the Auditor General. When the Auditor General makes queries, and maybe the Parliament will investigate, but then the executive will implement delay tactics to take action. And that is
You see, the Parliament, if the Auditor General is investigating, Parliament shouldn't investigate. The Auditor General will produce a report on that area of expertise for Parliament to examine. Then, in their wisdom, they can call upon the police to do further investigations. Otherwise, you can't have Parliament investigating fraud, investigating this. They don't have the expertise. That's not their constitutional role. That is what brings problems from that division of power, which I said should be based on what's my mandate. What's my mandate? Once you understand your mandate, you will know that I need to work with other people. In fact, for me, because I had been in the constitution making, when I became vice president and leader of government business in Parliament, I instituted a forum where the IGG sat, where the Speaker of Parliament sat, where the Chief Justice sat, where the Head of Public Service sat, where the Chief of Police sat, where the Commander sat of the Army, the Chief of the Army, and we were sitting there because I told you peace is paramount. When our people see us, they don't see Auditor General, they don't see Parliament, they don't see police, they see leaders, they see government. So if you don't put in place a coordinating forum so that you sit in that forum and agree, Auditor General, are you taking this up? IGG, take this up. What is the business in Parliament? Because the business in Parliament is putting your hand on the pulse of the population. What are the issues coming out of there? And then you say, who is going to investigate this? Are we going to put a commission of inquiry, or decided in that coordinating forum? That is how you can get coordination. But when you get logs which are the same size, you will never be able to light a fire. Nothing. So you waste resources, waste resources, waste resources. And things that need to be done are not done.
Okay. Thank you.
Coordination.
Yes.
Because there is nobody coordinating these organs at administrative level. It doesn't mean that when we sit together with the Speaker and the IGG, I'm going to stop the IGG from doing the work they are doing. If you remember, I even wrote a letter to the IGG to investigate livestock services project after that forum, and yet I was the Minister of Agriculture.
Did you live with the forum, Uganda? For starters, what were your roles assigned to you by the appointing authority?
Well, that coordination was one of them. I sat with the president because the constitution said you deputize for the president.
Yes.
What does that mean? What does that mean? It means
for the president
where the president is not, wherever he is. Yeah. So the presidency, where the president is not, you are there, whether it's here or outside. In our constitution, when the president leaves the country, he signs a statutory instrument, yes, giving the powers to the vice president. So when he's out, you do everything that he does. So, what were my roles? What were the issues at the time? Security of the country was a big issue. Strategic planning for the country. The other issue was mobilizing the population. So what did the president give me? He said, I'm going to focus on strategic matters and security. That was his job. In writing, he said, you, my deputy, will chair cabinet, will chair the Presidential Economic Council, will represent Uganda and me in international meetings. You will mobilize the population to understand government policy and programs. And by the fact that I don't sit in parliament, you are the leader of government business in parliament. So the two areas which I had to sit down and dissect and say, what do I do here? Leader of government business in parliament, coordinating forum, because this is where the people express their happiness or unhappiness about government. Then the other one, of mobilizing the population to understand government policies and programs, is in the chairing of cabinet. That is where the policies are made. That's where programs are approved. That's where money being borrowed and whatever is approved. Yes. It is a very heavy schedule, because you don't just go to sit in cabinet and finish. No. So in that role of government policy and programs, I put in place a committee which was looking at planning, sectoral planning in government. And I had a team to support me, led by Dr. Suruma and the late Muhakanizi. Those were my two economists on my side. So we were holding meetings in this hotel. What is it? This one in Lower Kololo there. Africana. Sector planning. You don't plan alone. You are security sector. Where is police? Where is this? Where is that? And then every time we had a meeting with the economic sector, security sector had to be there. Health sector, security sector had to be there. So that you understand the interlinkage of government and how everybody has to know that the money is from one basket and it's going to be distributed, and we must not duplicate for us to be able to move forward. Without that, at that time, there was no money, but we managed to do a lot. Yes. So that was my role, and I represented Uganda at the UN, in Chogam, at the AU. The president sat here and focused on ensuring peace and security for the country and doing strategic planning. Let's start with the economic sector. Oh, there is no money for health. There is no money. How will you have money So meetings which were to do with the strategic planning to guide us in our sectoral planning were chaired by the president. Mobilizing the population, muchaka. Let's take students. In my own home, I had a cadre training of all youth leaders from university, from tertiary institutions. Every holiday, they would come and spend 2 weeks in that Dundu place. 2 weeks. And I can show you the products. Yes.
That is very good.
The Nusurati Perus, the who. So, hey, this son of mine who was Speaker of the East African Parliament, Kidega, Oto, the famous Oto, is a product, is a Dundu Kada. So you have to immerse yourself to understand, how do I get this done for God and my country?
Thank you. So this was a job well done.
I don't know. You have to ask my boss. you have to ask my boss, but for me, I think from what I see is happening now, all these boats, all these roads which you see coming up, the circular roads around the lake, putting ferries and whatever, because I had to move and visit the islands. I was the first minister and vice president of Uganda to visit Adjumani, to visit Moyo. Yes, to visit Moyo, with the sese flies biting me. And I experienced this, and I was in a pickup. I was the first vice president to visit the Sese Islands. And I got there was one pickup, the RDC's pickup. There was no other vehicle because we went on a small motorboat. Who will drive the vice? I said, RDC, sit here. Yeah? Brief me so that when we arrive, and I took the pickup and drove it myself with the security and other leaders in the back of the pickup. You have to do this. So for us, we were not there, vya Bukondo and Kweyagala. We worked. This NRM is a government of workers going down. Even the ACs were not there, but we worked. There were no ACs. There were no these things, this money in the offices, which we also put to make government more efficient, and they are never used.
So what would be some of the challenges you faced during that time when you were implementing some of these roles?
Gender issues.
Gender issue?
It was very, very big because I was the first one, and I was told I was young. For me, it's really very interesting.
Young in politics?
Young in politics, nobody could say I was young in politics because I had been at every level, even more than some of my colleagues who were older than me. But I was a young woman, young woman, and they had never seen a woman take up such a job. So people would first look at me as a woman until I started talking. This is why the issue of education is very, very important for everybody. If you feel vulnerable, get yourself educated. Get yourself educated in many areas so that when you open your mouth to talk, you are talking sense. That was the challenge. Otherwise, other challenges are challenges like any other person in that job. They are manageable. Even that one I managed very well. Yes.
Normally in governance, there's that CASA.
Daffy gave Uganda $100 million. That was a lot of money at that time for the industrial sector. And my boss, immediate boss, Honorable Adrico, asked me to sit down and allocate that in according with the priorities in the tea industry. So the tea industry was forest. The tea, all those beautiful tea plantations you see, except the new ones which have been planted, had become forests. So we had to rehabilitate them, rehabilitate the factories. And how do we actually get that done? So somebody brought someone from Australia, where tea has never been grown, and told me that they have a machine which will pluck tea. I said, but how will it pluck tea? Our tea is on hills and whatever. And I refused the money. He said, you see, for every machine is $3 million, and you'll get 10% of the 3 million. And I said, what will I do with all that money? Even if my salary is 80,000. And we got the rehabilitation of the tea sector done. How did I do it? I moved, went to Hoima, went to Bushenyi, sat with the villagers around. In fact, I even got an accident, broke my jaw, broke my leg. It would take you a whole day to drive from Kampala to reach Mbarara. And I got the accident at Kasozi on my way to also inspect, in the same journey, to inspect the cement factories in Kasese, the Hima. So I got an accident there, but I didn't stop. I went to a clinic where a midwife feared to stitch me. I stitched myself in a mirror and proceeded to Kasese, did my work, went to Hoima, did my work, and then came back to Kampala. With the policy we had agreed on with the people agreed to be allocated parts of the land. They cut the the tea. They are the ones who used to work there, so they knew. So the tea rejuvenated, and we used that money to rehabilitate the factories, to buy fertilizers for the tea. That was my schedule, and I did it well as a entry into government as a deputy minister. The other time is when this Serena Hotel was going to be sold.
Okay.
Yes.
That was the international hotel? Nile Hotel?
Nile Hotel. At that time, we were even in the Constituent Assembly, writing the Constitution. So, I was now looking after the late Wapakabulo's ministry, which was Ministry of Tourism, which was handling hotels, specifically that one. And the people who wanted to buy it offered me a lot of money to sign. I said, who are you? I refused to sign. The thing ended up, then they went and got the minister who signed. The Minister of Finance signed. I refused to sign. Later they found out this was a fake company, which was just dealing. So some of these things got me into a lot of trouble with a number of people. UCB, sale of UCB. Some big officials in the articles and memorandum of association of selling UCB, they had written their personal names there. I didn't know law much, but I said, no, this should be for permanent secretary, for so and so. And I was told if I just accepted that, I was vice president then, and I refused. Many times.
Doctor, did you refuse because of your constitutional mandate? Did you refuse because of your will to fight corruption? Did you refuse because you are rich?
Values.
Values.
Yes. Nze ndi mwana wa Maria. My heaven has to be on earth. People who are given gold medals, they practice a lot. You don't wake up and then go and get a gold medal. So if I want to end up in heaven as a believer, that I'm here for a purpose, and I have another home somewhere where I want to go at peace, then I must be prepared. The 10 Commandments. And they are there in every religion. They are there even in our traditional religions.
Did you take time to act as a whistleblower?
It put me into a lot of trouble. I did. I couldn't be a whistleblower because I was the one who even crafted the plan to fight corruption. It was a docket in my office, after which we created the Minister for Ethics and Integrity. Yes, the president sent me to Malaysia, he sent me to Singapore, he sent me to China, he sent me to New York Metropolitan Police. And I sat there to see how do you catch thieves in government, because corruption is about stealing government money, which is a very difficult thing.
So doesn't this take us back to when there's a phrase that when you fight corruption, it fights you back?
It does fight you back, I can tell you. It fought me back. And it followed me, they followed me even when I left government.
Okay.
And they continue to follow me. Because some, but sometimes I say, people fear, I will leave the people who will never become a stone on this earth. Nobody. But I also know that if you are corrupt on public property, you get punished in due measure. How have I seen that in my 68 years of life? I saw the corruption which was started by Idi Amin. How did I see it? These are the people who got free things, those donations. Sometimes these donations, you want to stop?
No, I am okay.
The donations, when they are excessive, it is also corruption. If they are not within government policy. Of course, that time was different. People who run to get those things, when you look at them down, they are really nothing. Or they have problems of one kind or another. Yes. And the ethics come from the family, the home. Those ethics. If you see, if you as a young man, you are living beyond your means, you are crying about your salary, you don't have any other open source of income, but you drive a sleek car, you really live a life beyond your means.
You live a life which is not yours.
So your children will not see that as a problem. So they will also not want to disclose when they grow up. But for me, my father, Mr. Constantine Muguya Wandera, very strict man. He's alive even up to now. He's 96 years old. Very alert, and he tells the story. He worked in the post office, and he used to get my mother and myself to help him count the pennies. And he says, you miss one penny, I will go to prison. Or at night, under a hurricane lamp, we are counting the pennies to help him balance the books. God has helped him balance his books. If you see him, you can't believe he's 96. Because his mind is at ease. So I grew up knowing that money which belongs to the public is public money. Money which is yours, and it will be blessed and multiplied accordingly. I didn't have, I resigned from government when I was 32 years old. But I continued working in Mulago. So many people didn't even know I had resigned. Why? Because the NRC statute said you become a district councillor, you don't remain a civil servant. Some people remained there. They said, yeah, specious. I said, but this is breaking the law. You know, the people, I told the people, you know, let me resign from being LC. We are not being paid anything. But they said, Mama, you know our problems. This government has come. You go. You go. So I went. I resigned. There are patients everywhere. Every hospital I would come to, I would treat free of charge. And I was trading in my beans. I was growing my potatoes, and had my clinic in Bugorobi, which was treating people almost free of charge. God found a way of sustaining me. You come, you find a list of people who haven't paid. They say, oh, I'm number 12 there. But you have a sick child. I treat. When you get money, you come and even give it to me. More than what is on that list. So, you know, people will always approach you. They will tempt you. That is why we say the prayer, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Let your kingdom come. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. So why should I steal to secure tomorrow? How will I know I will be there tomorrow? Give us this day our daily bread. So I do my best today, and God will secure my tomorrow. Lead us not into temptation.
But deliver us from evil.
Yes.
This takes me to this question.
Of money to steal. So much money, and I keep telling people that even the money we have now, if we used it efficiently, we wouldn't need to borrow.
Yeah.
We wouldn't need to borrow, because we would get you tell people, live within your means. But if you live within your means and you are strategic and honest and spending money on what it should be spent on, people always have hope. I will wait tomorrow, my turn will come. And you move on systematically. But if you have a lot of money, then you are borrowing a lot of money, then stealing that money, how will you move forward? How you get the population to lose hope. Because corruption is also nepotism.
Yes.
You see one family really doing so well, everybody. That is not normal, according to that Barrow's curve.
There is a lot of selfishness.
Yes. It is, people are just thieves now. And Ugandans have become thieves. Because if you, in the law, if they find you with something, if you keep stolen property, knowing that it is stolen, you are also a thief. They take you together.
Yeah?
Yes. So at the end of it all, I think something drastic has to happen. Something drastic. Yes.
Okay.
Just like what happened in COVID. You have COVID quarantine. That's how we managed to contain the COVID. Otherwise, with the HIV AIDS, where they said, human rights, you have AIDS, don't tell people I have AIDS, it continues to spread. In Cuba, they handled HIV AIDS like COVID. And they managed to do research. And they got vaccines long before anybody else. And they were a country which was quarantined, which was sanctioned by America, their neighbor. And they have the best health system in the whole world. But they don't have a budget of billions and billions of dollars. So, it's because the people understand what must be done.
We have a lot of agencies which have been put in place to fight this price. But it seems there is still much more which is needed. Where is the problem?
The problem is where you catch the thief and you find them in the hole and you leave them free to hang around. If somebody is found to be a thief, look at China, what happens? Whatever position you hold, you are found to be corrupt. That very day, you lose your position. But here, they will come and pray for you. They will come and pray for you. They will come and do whatever. Yet Jesus, in the Bible, they told us Judas, who actually betrayed Jesus with those silver coins or whatever. How did he die? And who killed him? He went mad and he killed God. God shows us how to punish people. Sodom and Gomorrah. What did he do? We are a Christian. We are Islam. We believe in one God. And the rules are the same. They are there. In the time of Solomon, what happened? If you read the Bible. Yes.
So the ending will be determined by God.
No. God give who is God? God resides in you. For me, I'm a Catholic. I know that I'm the tabernacle of the Lord. I'm the temple of the Lord. Nze yekalo ya Katonda. Omuntu oyo yatutonda gave us so much magezi. He made us in his image, which means we can discern what is right and wrong. That is why we have the laws. So we cannot wait for God. The laws are all there. That's why I said the ideology also matters. Because they say human rights. But the capacity to even, do that is not there to enforce it. That's why you see people in the villages, they catch you with my goat, they will kill you. Because they know the state will not handle. They know the LC will be bribed. They know the policeman will be bribed. And yet the people bribing are there. The technology to catch people who are criminals are there. We came and wrote reports on all these things. How do you do it in government? I even had a pen, which while you are interviewing me, I'm writing here and it is recording what you are saying. These phones, I just put it here. That's why people tell you don't come with a telephone, don't come with a what. But if you really want to catch them, now lenses in the eye, they are like a jigger. You can just take it in and out anytime. So I have that thing put in your eye as a lens, and you are doing a noble work of catching thieves. And it's seeing, it's recording, it's a camera, it's everything under the skin. No, technology is there for us to do that. Unfortunately, the people who would bring that technology, a good number of them, there are many, a good number, because they are the perpetrators, they are part of the system. Like now, passports, the IDs, we've talked about this since I was vice president. Now they gave us ID to expire 3 years when I'm still alive, so that they can eat more money. We are just disgusting. We know what to do. Yes. So, bakukute, oli mubbi, you are a leader. You did not study to be a leader. Step down. Then let the law banobana katinga mwe public servants, isn't it? The law is also very clear. Interdict. Why do we interdict public servants? To remove them so that they are investigated. Yes. Why aren't the politicians interdicted? I interdicted myself when I was Minister of Agriculture. After writing to that you see, IGG investigate. So when people who had eaten the dam money and the grass money in parliament got to know they had used it to go to parliament, they said she's a thief. She has too many ministries. But Auntie, I was the one handling the docket of fighting corruption, and I had file on all of them. So I recused myself from that ministry. And I said, I even wanted to recuse myself as a vice president. The Attorney General, who is the former Chief Justice, said, no, follow the Constitution. Minister appointed under a different article. VP under a different article. This issue is under minister, so you don't go. So the president also refused, and I remained vice president. So, you know, the tools, the implements, the sieves are all there.
So, stepping down or to allow investigations, is it part of the law or it is an individual way?
It is not, you see, under the standing orders, public service, that one is there. So now, when you see things happening like this, is where you go back to the Constitution. How do you handle leaders who are corrupt and will not stand down? If you are accused and there is a charge put upon you for that act, recuse yourself from the position which is related to that act. Remain a member of parliament. Because how you remove a member of parliament is a different law. Yes. So now we have to, because this is where, you know, the lawyers are actually looking at the constitutional reviews and amending the laws, but they don't go to the objective to say, were our objectives then when we made the Constitution in tandem with what we see now? Because the situation has changed. The biggest disease this country has is dishonesty. Dishonesty. Everywhere. We see it everywhere. Dishonesty in marriage, dishonesty in school, dishonesty in exams. The whole thing, it's given different names. But in the 10 Commandments, it's called bubi, theft. Tobanga. Tewegombanga mukazi w'abandi. Tewegombanga ekintu ky'abandi. This is where we are. And I think that we need a national dialogue to really see how we can handle this whole issue of corruption. And then those of us who are no longer in government, we the elders, I was one of the people who proposed having a Senate-like body. Because it's like government there's an impasse in the government now. Because of this thing you are fearing to talk about directly. The one of the Mabati, where the speaker is involved, the vice president is involved, the deputy prime minister is involved, the prime minister is involved, the minister of finance is involved, so many ministers and members of parliament. How do you send a thief to catch a thief? We envisaged that situation. In the CA, you go to the Hansard. So this body will go to the Hansard and pull out all those views, the Constituent Assembly Hansard, so that we are able, and given a time frame, because Uganda is bleeding. Uganda is bleeding. We wanted you, our children, to come and find peace. Now, the peace we talked about then is not the peace, because the environment has changed. You are not at peace.
The peace has been diluted.
It has been adulterated.
Okay.
Yes, it has been adulterated. Yes. So we need different solutions to the adulterated peace now, the way we did when NRM came. Otherwise, even if you kusigako powder, like me now, I'm a black woman. Kati mu film, the first time they put me, they wanted me to put this powder. I looked like a doll, and I said to hell with, you know. Then in the morning, I go back, I bathe, I look at myself in the mirror. I'm a different person. Really, we must have that dialogue as Uganda, non-partisan. In the parties, there is corruption. In the what, there is corruption. So you have a corrupt mind, corrupt body, corrupt thoughts. So when somebody comes to you and you know you are corrupt in one way, making a decision which is good for Ugandans, you even fear, because you are at gunpoint, that person will expose you. Yes.
So, it is quite interesting.
Yes.
So we have little time, but still we shall be engaging you. But now, you are an experienced leader who is well versed in the knowledge of lobbying. You talked about donations a while ago. But now, what is the process? Because someone out there may not be knowing about lobbying. As a leader, you lobby through the office of the Prime Minister to the electorate. What is the process?
Let me tell you, there should be no lobbying with government money. The plans should be very clear. Once the budget is passed, the plans are very clear. At the beginning of every cycle of planning, I know that year one, my area will get this, my school would, this will happen or this will happen, subject to the money being available, which should be information constantly relayed to the constituencies, the district councils, the sub-county councils, the village councils. Otherwise, why should I lobby? It's my right. That is where corruption comes in. That's where it comes in. That's why we have so many ministers. Every sub-county wants a minister. Because people think if we don't have a minister, things will not happen. They don't know the minister has a cost. The minister has all those costs. Why should you lobby? Why should you lobby to be minister? Why should you lobby? Why should you? Honestly. Why should you lobby for the iron sheets for your school? The government should know that you need them. Why should some areas have better facilities than others? Why should a rehabilitation of a hospital in one district be better than another one? I would say in Obote time, all the government schools looked the same across the country. All the hospitals were the same across the country. But now, I'll give you the example of my own district hospital, Iganga. They told us because it is a hospital on the highway from Mombasa to Khartoum to Kigali to the capital Kampala, accidents happen. It's going to be a modern hospital so that it can be an area of excellency for emergencies. So they planned for a storied place and a place for the locals to use and a special facility. What have we got now? Now they tell us they are going to repair the sewage. Where did the money go? So it's really terrible. When I was in government, the Spanish fund, which was full of so many conditionalities, was to work in Kamuli. I went during COVID to see what was happening in one of the small facilities they built. I can tell you, even if you take off 20 kilos off my weight, I can't fit on the bed to deliver. Even the room. There, Kaliro District. Kaliro District doesn't have a hospital. It has a health center for. But go to my sub-county here in Idundu I can't fit in the laboratory to get my blood taken off. Yet the manifesto is saying prevention, let's do diagnostics, sitting there. So you find some places have bigger health center 3s, when others, they are just, it's really, I talk about my sector now, but it is the same in education. The quality of the road in Iganga municipality will be different from the quality of road in Entebbe municipality. Why? Why do we need to redefine standards all the time? Who is there to look at these things? It can't be the president. That's the job of the prime minister, not to distribute iron sheets. That is that office. That is its role. But if you get the prime minister's office doing implementation, that's where you get such problems again.
Okay.
Power to distribute is in the hands of 2 offices. The residence of the president, which is State House, and the prime minister's office. That is not the Constitution. That's not what the Constitution wanted. But the president started it because these people are not working. Now it has become big. There is the IGG, there is Auditor General. Now we have a State House Anti-Corruption Unit. And we know some of them is Land Unity. It's really, I pity my brother really, and my mentor. That man we call our president is a good man, but we let him down. We the people who under the Constitution, he's ultimately accountable, but the Constitution gives him the powers to delegate to officials things to do. Do they do them? When they don't do them, what happens? That is administrative law. So even under administrative law, the president can take action.
Is it too late to arrest this?
It is never too late. It is never too late. I go back to my profession where you would see a child coming in with skin on bone. You build them up and they become professors at Makerere. It isn't too late. Are we ready to do what needs and must be done? That is the question.
That is implementing the constitutional mandate.
Precisely. Are we ready to take action? Because if we at the top do the right thing, we shall have the authority to implement. But if the PS is going to Parliament and you, the committee, will not sit because you have not been given allowance, or you will not produce the report because your allowance hasn't come, it's very disheartening, very disheartening.
This one you already answered it. Maybe if we can stress it more. The legal implication of such a circumstance. The Irish is saga.
The law is very clear. And I must say they've started acting. But where the evidence is so stark, and somebody has even taken back, that is enough evidence to show that you committed the act. Do you have the moral authority to remain minister? Some of them are saying they actually took them to their constituencies for public good. That is diversion, because that money was not voted for a church in your constituency. It is diversion of resources. It is very clear. Yeah. If you divert resources, you are also a thief. Because instead of putting it where it should go, it has gone to do something else, to an outcome which will not be reflected in the monitoring and evaluation of that particular project. So who will be held accountable? When we go for that program of iron sheets in Karamoja, for Karamoja institutions, and they are counted. Because the way government works, it says, let's do this, finish that. If we don't do that, the next program won't come. Because like now in Karamoja, you need boarding facilities for those girls who accept to come to them. If you don't build the dormitory, then you are missing a generation of girls from Karamoja. Then you come to the NRM, they will tell you that we need to actually look at the whole country. We have scholarships for this particular program, where Karamoja region, Acholi region, this region, when they come together, they build a united Uganda. They are doing the same work. Expected outcome. That is how we shall build Uganda in future. So now you are stunting Karamoja, because the education is important. They need Karimojong to sit together and start getting consensus on how they will be part of Uganda and be able to contribute to Uganda like other Ugandans. Okay. Is that morally correct, even if you go to the morals? Because the morals build our law. Yes. The morals, and then the fact that we can discern what is right and wrong. That is what our law is all about. So for a minister to say that, anyway, for me, I've returned them. In any case, you didn't know they were for Karamoja. Don't you sit in that cabinet? Weren't you part of the budget making? If you don't know, it means you don't read cabinet papers. It means you don't know cabinet programs. You only look at your constituency. It means you are not a minister for Uganda.
The information they put across is that they unknowingly received the iron sheets.
How? How come other ministers didn't get? If it was a general distribution, then each minister would have got. Where you say, this is something for my ministers. Like you saw money when it is given for mobilization in Parliament. Even when I was in Harvard, we were to mobilize because my constituents refused me to step down. And I used to have somebody sit in that Parliament. I would come back, read all the Hansard and whatever, meet my Assembly of Parliament, brief them. And the money never came to my pocket. It went to the constituency account, which account was managed by the Speaker of the Chuguru South Parliament, with the workers in the office. Speaker of Chuguru South Parliament was the signatory to that account, not me. It didn't come to my account. That time they were not putting money, so it was collected, taken to Iganga to that account. So, you are a member of Parliament. What structure do you have in your Parliament for your constituency, as a constituency, so that if anything is done by government, it goes through that structure to benefit the constituency, not you as an individual? Because these, if you take them as an individual, brought you iron sheets, honestly, these are government iron sheets under what program? To me, you know, I'm not a very popular person in government circles, and I don't seek to be, because I don't think anybody should join government to be popular. You should go to government to do the right thing.
as we conclude, I want to thank you very much. I want to thank you very much for the time you've given us. But, Doctor, as
Kasawa kange, my meeting starts in President's Office.
Being active and inactive position in government, where do you find peace?
Where I am. Because if I was in government, I would not be able to say what I'm saying now because of collective responsibility. You don't have to be in government to contribute to your country. Just have the guts to say the right thing. Collective responsibility is also good. But you also need outside the government people who can talk and really tell you that this is a spade, it is not a spoon. That's the way things should work. That's why we wanted that Senate above Parliament. Because like now you can see, when they make a law, then the poor man, the president, has to sit alone and this simanyi visiyaga thingi nabyo bimumalira obudde. The Senate should be the one now to help him, because there you don't have people who are elected like they do in America because they want to be eventually president. You get people because of their experience and expertise to sit in that body. Yes. Otherwise now you say, but now I'm a lone voice as an advisor. I don't have a forum. I don't have a forum. It's the media which offers me a forum, and I want to thank the media very much. But I also the country would benefit more if my ideas or my experience was shared with other people, with other ideas and experiences, so that we can help polish or guide what is going on. Because we are now senior citizens. We just want the country to be peaceful. We have served. We've retired in public service. But that doesn't mean we are retired in working for our country.
Retired but not tired.
We are just retired with the new tires now.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for the time, and we wish to have you more as time goes by. I wish you well.
I wish you well too.